You know what they don't tell you about life? It's rigged. You play the game, follow the rules, think you're winning, and then bam, someone flips the board and walks away with your dignity. That someone, in my case, is my wife, Celia. Oh, Celia. Sweet, manipulative, chaos incarnate Celia. I married her because she was sharp, funny, and just a little crazy. Turns out, I underestimated the crazy part. It all started with a text message from my best friend, Eric. You know the type, good guy, always there to split a beer or help you move a couch. A man of loyalty, or so I thought. His message was simple: we need to talk. Now, if you're a man and your best friend says, we need to talk, it's never good. It's not about sports, or cars, or how the world's going to hell. No, it's always about some deeply personal, life-altering mess. And boy, did Eric deliver. We met at the bar, our usual spot. Eric looked nervous, which should have been my first clue. But no, naive little me just assumed he wanted to borrow money or confess to stealing my last slice of pizza last week. James, he said, looking at his beer like it held the secrets of the universe, there's something I need to tell you. Shoot, I said, taking a swig of my drink. He hesitated, then blurted out the words that would set my world on fire: I think Celia's cheating on you. Now, let me pause here and set the scene. Imagine me, mid-gulp, choking on my beer like an idiot in a sitcom. Because that's exactly what happened. What? I coughed, my voice a mix of disbelief and rage. Eric's face was redder than a bad sunburn. I didn't want to tell you, but it's been eating at me. I swear, I didn't want to hurt you, man. Oh, yeah, I said, slamming my beer down. Because nothing screams good friend like accusing my wife of cheating. Do you have proof? Or are we just basing this on your bad vibes and cheap beer? Eric stammered something about overhearing a conversation and seeing her acting too friendly with someone. My blood boiled. Friendly? Celia? The woman who could win a staring contest with a shark? No way. I stormed out of the bar, leaving Eric behind with his guilt and his lukewarm beer. My mind raced as I drove home, replaying his words. Could Celia really be cheating? Was my best friend losing his mind? When I got home, Celia was waiting for me, curled up on the couch with a glass of wine and her usual smug smile. Hey, babe, she said, her voice sweet enough to give you cavities. How was the bar? Fine, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Something wrong? She asked, tilting her head like a curious cat. I wanted to yell, to demand answers, but instead, I said, nothing. Just tired. Because deep down, I wasn't ready to hear the truth. You know that feeling when something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Like walking into a room and smelling smoke but not seeing the fire? Yeah, that was me for the next week. Celia, in all her wifely glory, acted like nothing had happened. She laughed at my jokes, kissed me goodnight, and even made my favorite lasagna. But I wasn't fooled. Behind that sweet smile and perfect hair was a ticking time bomb, and I was standing on the X. Eric, bless his guilt-ridden soul, kept texting me. Did you talk to her? I'm sorry if I made things worse. Let me know if you need anything. He was acting like a guy who just hit your car and is waiting for the insurance claim. I ignored him, of course. Because if there's one thing a man hates more than betrayal, it's the person who forces him to face it. Celia, meanwhile, was ramping up the charm offensive. Suddenly, she was extra affectionate, extra attentive, and extra suspicious. Who are you texting? She asked one night, peeking over my shoulder. No one, I said, locking my phone like I was the one with secrets. She raised an eyebrow. You've been quiet lately. Everything okay? Fine, I muttered, pretending to be engrossed in whatever garbage Netflix was serving up. She didn't press, but I saw the flicker of calculation in her eyes. Celia was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them. A few days later, while she was out running errands, I decided to do a little investigating. Now, let me just say, I'm not proud of what I did next. But desperate times call for snooping. I started with her laptop. Nothing. Her browser history was cleaner than a hospital floor. Then her email. Again, nothing, just boring work stuff and spam. But then, I found it. Her phone buzzed on the counter with a message from Eric. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Why the hell was Eric texting her? The message was short: "We need to be careful. He's suspicious." Careful. Suspicious. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. I picked up the phone, scrolling through their chat history. What I found made my stomach turn. There it was, in black and white, a string of messages that read like bad fanfiction. Flirty banter. Complaints about me being distant. And the kicker? A message from Celia that said, "He'll never find out. He trusts me too much." Well, congratulations, Celia. You've officially underestimated me. When she got home, I was waiting in the kitchen, her phone sitting innocently on the counter. "Hey," she said cheerfully, dropping her bag on the floor. "What's for dinner?" "Oh, I don't know," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Maybe betrayal, served cold." Her smile froze. "What are you talking about?" I picked up her phone and held it out. "Care to explain why you and Eric are suddenly pen pals?" Her face went pale. For the first time in our marriage, Celia looked genuinely rattled. "James," she said slowly, "it's not what you think." "Really?" I said, laughing bitterly. "Because it looks exactly like what I think." She opened her mouth, then closed it, scrambling for words. "It's complicated." "Oh, I bet it is," I snapped. "So go ahead. Complicate it for me." For a moment, the room was silent, the tension thick enough to choke on. Then Celia sighed, her shoulders slumping. "Fine," she said. "Yes, I've been talking to Eric. But it's not what you think. He came on to me, James. I was trying to keep things from getting worse." My jaw tightened. "So you lied to me? Behind my back? With my best friend? To protect me?" She nodded, her eyes wide with fake sincerity. "Oh, spare me the hero act, Celia," I said. "You're not a martyr. You're a manipulator." Her face hardened. "And what are you? A perfect husband? Don't act like you're innocent in all this. You've been distant, distracted. Don't you dare turn this on me," I growled. She stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind her. I stood there, gripping the counter, my mind racing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because if there's one thing I've learned about Celia, it's that she never plays fair. You ever try to piece together a puzzle, only to realize you're missing half the pieces and the box lied about what the picture is supposed to be? That was my life now. Celia was playing the victim card like it was her personal anthem, and Eric had gone radio silent. Great. My wife was lying to me, my best friend was hiding from me, and I was stuck in the middle with nothing but questions and a slowly mounting sense of dread. But here's the thing about me: I don't let things go. Ever. So, I decided to dig deeper. The first clue fell right into my lap, courtesy of Celia's obsessive need to control everything. I was in the bedroom, folding laundry, because marriage is about teamwork, right, when I noticed something sticking out of her dresser drawer. A receipt. From a fancy restaurant we'd never been to. "Interesting," I muttered, pulling it out. The date on the receipt was from 2 weeks ago, right around the time Eric had started acting weird. And the kicker? The bill was for 2 people. I didn't confront her immediately. No, I needed more. The next morning, while Celia was in the shower, I checked her phone again. This time, I went straight to her calendar app. Most of it was boring, work meetings, hair appointments, but then I saw it, lunch with E. Huh. Couldn't even bother to spell out Eric's name. Subtle. That afternoon, while Celia was working late, I texted Eric. "We need to talk." Now, to my surprise, he responded almost instantly, "Fine. Meet me at the park in 30 minutes. Eric was already there when I arrived, pacing nervously near a bench. "You've got some nerve," I said, walking up to him. He flinched but stood his ground. "James, listen." "No, you listen," I interrupted. "I know about the texts. I know about the lunch. Hell, I even know about the damn restaurant. So stop lying and start talking." Eric ran a hand through his hair, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "It's not what you think," he said finally. "Don't give me that," I snapped. "I've heard that line enough times to last a lifetime. What's going on with you and Celia?" He hesitated, then sighed. "She's manipulating you, James. She's trying to make you think I'm the bad guy." "Oh, really?" I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're both doing a damn good job of that." "She came on to me," he blurted out, his words tumbling over each other. "I didn't want to hurt you, but she made it impossible to say no." I stared at him, my mind spinning. Could he be telling the truth? Or was this just another lie in an already tangled mess? "Why would she do that?" I asked, my voice quieter now. Eric shook his head. "I don't know. But think about it, James. She's isolating you. She's driving a wedge between us. Why do you think that is?" The pieces of the puzzle started clicking into place, and the picture they formed was uglier than I could have imagined. "She wants control," I muttered. Eric nodded. "Exactly." I left the park feeling like the ground had been ripped out from under me. If what Eric said was true, then this wasn't just betrayal, it was sabotage. Celia wasn't just cheating. She was playing a game, and I was the pawn. When I got home, she was waiting for me, her smile as bright and fake as ever. "Hey, babe," she said. "How was your day?" I looked at her, my anger simmering just below the surface. "Oh, you know. Just catching up with old friends." Her smile faltered, just for a second. But it was enough to confirm what I already knew. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The thing about lies is that they're like spiders, they spin their little webs, and if you're not careful, you'll walk right into one and feel it stick to your skin. Celia's web? Oh, it was a masterpiece. She had me doubting my best friend, questioning my sanity, and second-guessing every decision I'd ever made. But here's the thing about webs, they're also fragile. And I was about to rip hers apart. The next day, Celia was out on another one of her work meetings. Funny how these meetings always took place during lunch hours and required her to wear heels that screamed "pay attention to me." While she was gone, I decided it was time to dig deeper. I started with her laptop again, but this time I went straight to her cloud storage. Jackpot. There it was, a folder titled Receipts. She wasn't even subtle about it. Inside, I found photos of her and Eric at the fancy restaurant, smiling like they'd just won the lottery. There were also screenshots of their messages, long, flirty conversations that made my stomach churn. But the real kicker? A voice memo. I clicked play, and Celia's voice filled the room. "Eric, you have to be more careful. If James finds out, the whole thing falls apart. Do you understand me? I need him to believe it's your fault, not mine." I froze. This wasn't just a fling. This was strategy. Manipulation. A full-blown takedown of my life, orchestrated by the woman I thought I knew. When Celia came home that evening, I was waiting in the living room, her laptop sitting on the coffee table like Exhibit A. "Hey," she said cheerfully, kicking off her heels. "What's for dinner?" "Oh, I don't know," I said, leaning back on the couch. "Maybe lies? Betrayal? Served with a side of manipulation?" Her smile disappeared. "What are you talking about?" I picked up the laptop and pressed play on the voice memo. Her face went pale. "You've been busy," I said, my voice cold. "Running errands, attending meetings, And, oh yeah, systematically destroying my life. James, I can explain, she stammered, her voice shaky. Oh, I bet you can, I snapped. Let me guess, you're the victim here. Poor Celia, forced to manipulate her husband and seduce his best friend because, what? You were bored? Lonely? It's not like that, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. Then tell me what it's like, I said, my anger barely contained. Because from where I'm standing, it looks a hell of a lot like betrayal. She took a deep breath, her expression shifting from panic to something else, defiance. Fine, she said. You want the truth? Yes, I manipulated you. Yes, I made Eric look like the bad guy. But I did it for us, James. Don't you see? He was getting in the way. I had to make sure you were focused on me, on our marriage. I stared at her, stunned. You destroyed my friendship with Eric because you wanted me to yourself? She nodded, her voice growing steadier. You were drifting away, James. Spending all your time with him, ignoring me. I had to do something. Something? I laughed bitterly. This isn't something, Celia. This is psychotic. The silence that followed was deafening. She stood there, her tears forgotten, as if daring me to make the next move. I trusted you, I said finally, my voice shaking. I loved you. And this is how you repay me? Because I love you too, she said desperately. I was trying to save us. No, I said, standing up. You were trying to control me. And now, you've lost me. I grabbed my jacket and walked out the door, her voice calling after me. But I didn't stop. Because for the first time in weeks, I could finally see the web for what it was, and I wasn't going to let it trap me anymore. You ever notice how silence feels louder when you know it's over? That's what it was like walking out of that house. No shouting, no throwing things, no dramatic goodbyes. Just the sound of a door closing on everything I thought my life was. Celia tried calling, of course. She left voicemails full of crocodile tears and half-baked apologies. I was trying to save us, she'd sob, like she was the hero of this twisted little soap opera. But I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I spent the night at a cheap motel, the kind where the sheets smell faintly of bleach and regret. I stared at the ceiling, wondering how I'd missed the signs, how I'd let myself become the puppet in Celia's sick little game. And then it hit me, I wasn't the only one she'd betrayed. Eric. I grabbed my phone and texted him. We need to meet. Tomorrow. Noon. The park. Eric was waiting on the same bench where we'd had our last confrontation, his posture tense but hopeful. You came, he said, standing as I approached. Yeah, I said, sitting down. We need to talk. He nodded, his expression serious. I'm sorry, James. For everything. I should have told you the truth from the start. I shook my head. No, Eric. I'm the one who should be apologizing. I let her turn me against you. He looked at me, surprised. You mean, you believe me? I found the proof, I said, pulling out my phone and playing the voice memo. Eric listened in stunned silence, his jaw tightening as Celia's words filled the air. That manipulative, he cut himself off, shaking his head. I can't believe I let her drag me into this. Join the club, I muttered. For the first time in weeks, we actually talked, really talked. About Celia, about the lies, about everything she'd done to tear us apart. By the time we left the park, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, clarity. Eric wasn't the enemy. Celia was. When I got home later that evening, Celia was waiting for me. She looked disheveled, her makeup smudged, her eyes red from crying. It was a good performance. Almost convincing. James, she said, rushing to me. Thank God you're home. We can fix this. I know we can. I stepped back, holding up a hand. No, Celia. We can't. Her face crumpled. Please. I made a mistake, but it's because I love you. Love? I said, laughing bitterly. You don't love me, Celia. You love control. You love winning. And you know what? You did. You won. Congratulations. You've destroyed everything. She tried to argue, to defend herself, but I didn't give her the chance. I'm done, I said firmly. You can keep the house. Hell, keep the web of lies you've built for yourself. But I'm not staying in it anymore. I walked out, slamming the door behind me. The weeks that followed weren't easy. Divorce papers, awkward explanations to friends and family, nights spent wondering what the hell I'd do next. But slowly, I started to rebuild. Eric and I repaired our friendship, though it wasn't the same as before. Some wounds take time to heal. But at least I knew I wasn't alone anymore. As for Celia, last I heard, she was trying to sell some sob story about how I'd abandoned her. Let her. The truth was out there now, and I didn't need her lies defining my life anymore. They say betrayal changes you, and they're right. It hardens you, makes you question everything. But it also teaches you something important. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And Celia? She showed me. Subscribe to never miss a new story and discover even more captivating tales.